At breakfast, Mom said, "You should start paying rent. Your brother has real ambitions." Dad added, "He's building a future. You're just coasting." I stayed quiet, moved out that night, and canceled all shared utility accounts. 3 weeks later, the power was out, the water stopped running, and Mom texted, "We can't even shower." The sound of glass shattering hit first, sharp, cold, familiar. Dad's voice followed, angry enough to rattle the windows. Mom was crying again, her hands shaking as she tried to pick up the pieces. My brother Evan stood by the counter, red-faced and loud, hurling words that didn't need to exist. And me, I just stood there, arms crossed, leaning against the doorway, watching, like always. "You think you're better than us now, Leo?" Dad shouted. His breath smelled like whiskey and regret. Evan's laugh was low, mocking. "He always thinks he's better. Look at him, standing there like a saint," Mom whispered. "Please don't start again." But no one stopped. Dad threw an envelope across the table. Bills, final notices, my name still on the corner of one. "This is your fault," he said. "You walked out. You canceled everything. You left us in the dark. Who does that to their own family?" I looked down at the paper and said, "The one who paid for everything alone." The room went still. Mom's lips parted. Evan's jaw clenched. The hum of the fridge felt louder than any word they'd said. "You ruined us," Evan snapped. "I stopped carrying you," I said softly. For a moment, even Dad didn't know what to say. Mom covered her mouth, eyes wet but cold. "Leo," she whispered, "tell them what you did." I didn't answer. Not yet. I was 26. My name's Leo Kane, the quiet one, the one they blamed when things broke, the one who fixed them anyway. For years they said I was lazy, unmotivated, just drifting. But behind that, I was the one holding everything up. I paid their debts, covered Evan's messes, lent Dad money he never returned, bought groceries when Mom's check didn't clear. They liked me quiet, because silence was easy to twist. I remember working double shifts at the diner just to keep the lights on. Mom cried to me about overdue bills. Evan called me his safety net. Dad said, "That's what family's for." And I believed them. For years, I believed them. Now, standing in that kitchen, all I could think was how they turned my love into a transaction. How every good thing I did became something they expected, not appreciated. Evan took a step closer. "You always wanted to see us fail, didn't you?" I stared at him. Perfect smile, empty soul. "If I wanted that, I wouldn't have saved you all those times." His face twitched. "What are you talking about?" "Ask Mom," I said quietly. "She knows." Evan, 29. The favorite son, the dreamer who never paid for his own dreams. Dad, a man who gambled away his pride long before his money. Mom, sweet on the surface, but she knew exactly how to use tears like tools. "You could have helped us," Mom said now, voice trembling but sharp underneath. "You just turned your back." I wanted to laugh. "Helped you? Mom, I sold my car so Dad wouldn't lose the house. I skipped meals so Evan could take that business trip that never existed. I was paying for the same family that pretended I didn't matter." She looked away. Dad muttered, "You owe us." That word. Owe. I took a breath. "You're right. I owe you nothing." For a moment, even the air stopped moving. Mom's eyes widened. "Leo," she said quietly, "don't do this again." Again. That word cracked something open in me. 2 years ago, I remember the night clearly. Dad screaming because the loan sharks were calling again, Evan pacing because he'd lost more money investing, Mom crying and saying, "We'll fix it. Leo will fix it." I did. I sold everything I owned to make their problems disappear. I told myself it was love. That's what love looked like. Sacrifice without applause. But later that week, when I found the will in Dad's drawer, the one with my name scratched out and Evan's written in, I realized what it really was. Use. They'd cut me out while still taking from me. I was the family ghost, visible only when needed. Now, looking at them in that kitchen, I could finally say it. I know about the will. Mom froze. Evan blinked too fast. Dad's hand tightened around his glass. You don't understand? Mom started. No, I said. I understand too well. Evan laughed bitterly. So this is revenge? Turning off the lights? Canceling the bills? You're pathetic. Maybe, I said, but I finally learned from you. Mom's tears fell harder now, but they didn't move me. For years, her tears had been my weakness. Not anymore. You let us drown, Evan said. No, I said. I stopped being your life jacket. Dad threw his glass into the sink. It shattered, echoing through the kitchen. You're nothing without this family. I smiled faintly. Then I guess I'm finally free. Mom's voice broke. You sound just like him. She pointed toward Dad, but her eyes were on Evan. The fight burned out slowly. Dad walked out first, muttering curses. Mom stayed at the table, her hands pressed together like she was praying. Evan just stared at me, eyes glassy, jaw tight. You think you're better than us? He whispered. No, I said. I just stopped pretending this was love. He stepped forward, then stopped himself. I could see it, the panic of a man realizing the game was over. I gave you all my silence, I said. Tonight I give you the truth. For the first time, none of them spoke. The quiet was almost holy. By morning, the house was still. Mom sat on the porch, her robe wrapped tight around her shoulders. Leo, she said, we didn't mean to hurt you. I looked at her, tired but steady. You didn't mean it, but you did it anyway. Evan stood near the steps, his voice small for once. I didn't know Dad changed the will. Yes, you did, I said. You just hoped I wouldn't. He didn't argue. He just looked down. I walked away with a small duffel bag, the sound of gravel crunching beneath my shoes. Mom's voice floated behind me. He'll come back. He always does. But not this time. For the first time, she was wrong. Weeks passed. I found a tiny place on the edge of town. Peeling paint, weak heater, one window that stuck halfway open. But it was mine. Quiet. Honest. At night, I'd sit by the window and hear the wind move through the trees. Sometimes I thought about that house. The shouting, the guilt, the way love turned into control. But I didn't feel anger anymore. Just distance. They'd built their world on me, and when I stepped away, it collapsed. One morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We lost everything. I stared at it for a while, waiting for guilt to crawl back in. It didn't. I typed slowly. You'll figure it out. You always do. Then I set the phone down, stepped outside, and watched the sunrise spill gold over the hills. The air was cold, sharp, alive. For the first time, I felt light. Not happy, but free. Peace didn't come like a storm. It came like quiet after rain. I thought about everything I'd given, everything they'd taken, and how all along they mistook my silence for weakness. But silence isn't weakness. It's control. It's strength they'll never understand. I smiled, breathing out a truth I'd never said aloud. I was never the quiet one, I whispered. I was just waiting for them to listen. If you were in my place, would you forgive them or walk away forever? Tell me in the comments below. Your voice matters here. Like if you felt Leo's silence. Subscribe for more real stories that live where words usually don't. Because sometimes peace doesn't mean winning. It means finally being free.